everyone, back to another episode of Rooftop Perspectives. I am your host, LanceScurv. I heard a saying the other day and it hit me. It wasn't quite the way that I'm saying it, but it was pretty much in that context. It was something that was in a conversation and I was like, wow, I could talk about that. And that saying was, sex is a mere Bandaid for the gunshot wound of loneliness. Sex was a mere Band-Aid for the gunshot wound of loneliness. I couldn't get it out of my head all day. I love words that way. I love things that are spoken with few words and quite profound, and they just go right to the point. And it made me think. I'm always thinking. There's one thing you know. If I'm talking, I'm thinking. If I am quiet, I'm thinking. But it just seems that these days, since I have so much life behind me and I feel so much to do ahead of me, those things just leap out of nowhere and really titillate my brain, because I don't really like low vibrational conversation. I don't like just, you never really see me around a bunch of guys drinking, talking some smack. I talk smack on my shows for the entertainment reasons, but I'm much more serious than that, even though if you catch me on one of those shows and you don't know me, you'll probably think that I'm not. But this is how I spend my days, deep in thought. And I have a lot to think about, but that particular saying, that sex is a Band-Aid for, how did I say it now? I messed it up, right? Sex is a Band-Aid for the wound that is loneliness. Wow. Today's world is so, how could I put it, over-sexualized. Seriously. And people would say, well, Lance, you talk about back in your day, all the things you did. Yes, I did those things. And I have to say that I was very lonely in those days. I can admit that now. I was very lonely. And I really wanted love, because I didn't know what love is. And I went through a great part of my life not knowing what love and true companionship were. How could I put it? When you're having sex, you feel that there is an intimacy. But if that's all it is the physical friction that goes on, it's not. And it can leave you in a place where you are extra lonely afterward, because you expect to keep this feeling. Not that you got that from sex, but you thought that this was the precursor to the cure to your loneliness. And it leaves you more lonely, and it leaves you in your mind thinking that, well, if I get more sex, I'll rid myself of this loneliness. I have known many a woman in my lifetime. Short term, super short term, long term. And I never got the full feeling of companionship and love, because I was looking for it in all the wrong places. All I'll say, with this society that it is now, I could imagine how the youngsters who are maturing and going into having sex lives, how imbalanced things are and how they're going to take it. How they may feel a loneliness that is just so powerful that it would drive them for the attention. Now, we all know of the stereotypical scenario where they say, well, look at that young lady over there. She didn't get love from her father, so she's looking for love from all these strange men, giving herself up for sex. And that's her way of thinking that she's getting love. Yeah, that type of person exists, where people don't understand it exists for men also. Now, my dilemma, and close friends of mine, we had to try to figure out, like, what the hell is going on with you, Lance? Because in your upbringing, you received more than enough love, a good example, a fine home with two parents who loved each other, who did right by you. You weren't lacking. So what is it? And I kind of figured it out, right? I had a fear of my parents transitioning very early for me. Well, my father transitioned when I was 27, and my mother transitioned when I was 31. Far too young. right? But who am I to say the Creator's plans, right? Well, when my father went through the act of procreation, which wasn't just that, I mean, I guess they were making love, right? He was 46 years old. He was born in 1916, and my mother was born in 1930. So she was 33 already, and he was 46. So she was 32 in the 9 months, whichever way it fell. So they were always a little older than most parents by the time we got to school. Most of the children and classmates had younger parents. Sometimes they were older the same way. But I noticed that. And in me growing up as an only child, even though I have a brother who he was not part of that union of my father and my mother, I still loved him when he was around, but he was doing drugs and out the house most of the time and 11 years older than me. So yes, I have a brother, but I grew up as an only child, which I'm very happy for many reasons, for me personally. And I love big families, and I always yearn to be around big families. But when it comes time for the family feuds and backstabbing and stuff, that's something I don't like. That's something that, like, wow, I'll take the good parts, but I don't want the bad parts. So I grew up as a single child, very cerebral, in my room, and do my homework and thinking, and have my own phone, my own TV, no brothers or sisters to come and take my clothes and wear them or steal something from me or whatever. I didn't have to go through that. So this is, for me, a continuation of that, but I understand that was the fear that I had of my parents passing away very early. From a young age, I had that fear. That's what it was a fear. And so they gave me the love, but I always sought intimacy with women, but the way I went about it, because maybe the way I was built doing bodybuilding or the conversation or whatever, I wasn't a predator, but I always found myself kind of used, for the things I was willing to do to keep that companionship, which never really existed. So now we have an over-sexualized society, and now so many people think that sex and lots of sex will cure loneliness, and maybe they don't realize it's a loneliness. Maybe they're not going through loneliness right now. But you're going to get to a point where your friends, your inner circle, the companionship, the camaraderie, that good old-fashioned society that we had, many of us had, some have it now. But so many are so caught up in this thing of being haters and jealous people, it's like it can't go back to what it was. And I know that people who are in my age group, a little less, a little more, they could tell you, man, yeah, we had jealous people in back. Look at the song Backstabbers, money, 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 money. People want the money out of you and stuff. It was not to this degree. It's almost like when you meet someone, they size you up to see what potential you have to lining their pockets or giving them some type of advantage or something. It's like if you're of no value to them, they discard of you and get rid of you. And that to me is so rotten, because we would have friends coming up. I could mention names, I don't want to put them out there, but there's nothing embarrassing or anything like that. But the multitude of names that are in a core, in a family, extended beyond a family, and how there were individuals who technically offered nothing except their presence, but they were welcome because we loved them. And so lots of times as we get older, I would say sex has become that Bandaid, has become that drug that kind of deadens the loneliness. So this is why we have such increase in the use of pornography and going online to these crazy sites and these dating apps, and we don't take time. We're so blurred as men, I'm going to speak for men, by the bodies, by the backside, by the boobies, and women buy these things and slap it on them, and we fall for it. It's crazy. And we don't get to know the real you. But we don't open up and allow ourselves to be vulnerable enough to say, hey, I'm lonely, I need a companion. To hell with the sex. If the sex comes, that's not the first and foremost thing that I want, because as you get older, if you are a little younger than me, you're going to realize that the people that you love, that are real precious to you, whether, and this is not even a sexual thing, I'm talking about male or female, just the friends that are precious to you, as they start to pass away and transition, you're going to realize how much they were important to you. So now this is why these days I tell all my friends, male and female, that I've known for a long time, or even if it's a short time but a lot of depth, that I do love them. And they do mean something to me. They mean a lot to me. Let me see, is this shadow coming back over my face again? I can't even see the screen because this sun is so bright. I love it. But that's the bottom line. You know, get some real companionship. Create some real friendships that are not based off of sex. Because you can have sex with somebody and see them a couple of weeks from that time if it was a one-night stand and not even remember their name. You look at them, you say, hey, how you doing? There's nothing there. You want to be able to go back. We want to go back to making community, making meaningful relationships. And I tell fellas now, and they say, well, look at you talking that stuff now, but you wasn't saying that before. Just want to make sure this camera is not in the sun, so I'm going to move it over a little bit. I don't want any shadows cast over my face. It looks real dumb. It looks real dumb when I finish everything. It's like, I didn't see that. But really and truly, there's so many ways to love a woman. And ladies, there's so many ways to show true love to a man where you don't have to feel pressured to just open up your legs or perform an act or whatever. Those are beautiful things when you have the real thing. I'm not against it. But let the foundation of what it is become real for you with this person. You say, wow, this is a quality individual. We have mutual interests. You know, we can do so many things together. I enjoy their company. I enjoy their mind. Because the worst thing is when you meet someone and you get with them and you can even be married to them, right? Or just a committed relationship, and you find that you have nothing in common. You find that your mate is not excited when she sees you. She won't speak to you. And this goes for the men too, doing it back to the women. You don't talk, you don't have anything going on, and you realize you made a big mistake because the person that you're with does not love you. They're not interested in you. They have no care. They tolerate you. And in the middle of the night, that hurts. You might have had great sex a little bit, and when that falls off and you realize you're not compatible with this person, that's the worst kind of all. To even be in a relationship and the person that you're with doesn't even want to have a conversation with you, but they'll get on their phone and they'll talk and, oh, my sister, how are you doing? Oh, my brother, how are you doing? Whatever. And you're like, wait a second, am I invisible? That's the hurt part. And so this is why many people get to a certain age and they say, you know what? I'm not going to live my life like this. I'm going to stay married to you, but I'm going to find somebody who is interested in me, to hold me, to care for me, to really genuinely see how I'm feeling. And people on the outside world will say, oh, look at him, he creeping and nasty, man. He just sexing them other women. It may not even be that. It might be where you just lay in the bed with the person half naked, hold them and talk, doze off and get up, and vagina never had a penis in it. That's how crucial it can get, because I talk to a lot of young men out here who are in situations like that, and they really want to know what to do. But I said, listen, that sex thing in the beginning, because you were probably one who really wanted a relationship, you got caught up in the social media and started playing the game like everybody else, but it's you feeling it when all the fellas are gone who called you up to find out what you did the night before. So what you do with her, man? Did she give you some head? Did she do, all of that stuff? And then what? When it's gone and you're the one who's lonely, guess what? It's only you who's suffering. So if you find someone and you treat them nicely and they're able to receive your nice treatment, because I will say, and this goes for women too, there are a lot of individuals, and I'm speaking as a man, so when I say women, I'm not just bashing women or taking men out the equation. It could be both. Don't get in the comment section now. You know how y'all do. Not the regulars, but some of y'all come, well, what about the men? No, I don't deal with men, so I can't talk about that. Right? But just make sure that the person you're with is compatible with you, that you're not bedazzled by their physical charms, that you're not thrown off by lust, that you can really look in this person's face. And it doesn't mean every friendship that's maybe a little flirtatious or a little romantic is going to go somewhere. It may pass, but you need to take your time and check it out. And with you, especially as a man, be authentic. Don't lie. Say what it is and what the parameters are if it gets to that point. If she asks you, like, what do you want from me? She may not say it that way, but kind of declare what it is. even in the early stages, like, hey, right now, don't wait for her to ask. Right now, like hanging out with you. You're very beautiful. You have a beautiful body, and all I see that stuff. But right now, I want to take my time and get to know you. Right now, I want to take my time and let us establish a friendship at least, that if things don't work out with us hanging out a lot, then at least we have that connection on a foundational level. And this is why you see so many people, they're with people, they're looking for somebody else, or they get with somebody and they break up quick, or they last years and there's nothing behind it. And you can even ask your mate, listen, why did you marry me? And they just look at you and they can't say anything because they know they messed up too. But in many of those situations, like I explained before, it wasn't, you can sometimes also be thinking that this person really cares for you, and all they want you to be is a placeholder in their life. Nothing more, nothing less. I have everything. I have my family. I have my children. I have friends, but I don't have a mate. You're going to fit right there. And you're just a placeholder. You're like a false tooth, a denture to fill in the gap. And you'll get food. You may get some sex a little bit, but the interest is not in you. Find a hobby, brother, because I don't care about you. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. Find out what the hidden agendas and secret motivations are when you deal with another person. Because time is short, and it's the worst thing to feel that loneliness, and it's even a worse thing to not know that you're using sex to heal up or block up the gap of loneliness. And when you realize that and years roll by, you're like, man, I wasted a lot of time. I mean, I don't feel that way. I learned a lot, and at one point I did, but I really have learned some hard lessons, in a good way. I'm not saying it was good, it didn't feel good, but you learn them, and they undergird your conviction, they undergird your viewpoint where you won't slip back into certain things again. Because out here in Accra, there's an overabundance of things that come at me, but when you know what you're about, it doesn't bother you. Anyway, I was going to keep this one short, not too long. Just want to give a good word with you. And as always, salute to my brothers. Much love, mwah, to my sisters. Send me some topics that you want me to talk about along these lines. Human nature, relationships. The deeper the better. The more challenging the better. I'll talk about anything. I'll go in. If I know about it, I'm going to talk about it. And I've been through a whole lot. I'm not a know-it-all, but I know a whole lot from hands-on experience. Anyway, on to the next one. Like, share, and subscribe. Hit LanceScurv.com. We're shadow banned a lot over here, but you'll see all the videos on the site when they go up. And let's continue on to leave your comments and know that I love you all very much. Much love. Peace.